President Barack Obama held a White House summit last month to further a national discussion about sports-related concussions suffered by children. We are joined today by Dr. Shireen Atabaki of the Children's National Medical Center and Doug Homer, Executive Director of DC Stoddard Soccer, to talk about this important safety and health concern. Thank you both for joining us. I want to start with you, Doctor. Just what is a basic definition for a concussion?
A concussion occurs as a result of the brain shaking, and it can be from direct impact or it can be from movement related to a hit somewhere else in the body. So you don't necessarily have to be hit in the head. You could be hit in the trunk and your brain or head could shake, and it results in a neurometabolic cascade that causes a lot of changes and can cause a lot of harm to the brain.
You are obviously dealing with a lot of children playing sports, soccer in particular. And obviously the head is one of the areas of the body that's used to play the game of soccer. How have you been able lately to develop the game around the issue of concussions and to try and minimize any damage to your players?
Well, I think our board has taken a very proactive approach to first educating parents and then educating coaches as to what concussions actually are. What does a concussion mean? What's the definition of a concussion? What are the risks that come from concussions if you suspect that a child has suffered an injury? What are the warning signs? What kind of symptoms should you look for? And we always take the approach that safety comes first. So if there's an injury, we take the child out right away.
The national discussion about concussions, has it made a difference with respect to the parents who are allowing their children to play? Or have you found any blowback? Parents saying, no, I don't want my kids to play anymore, or parents, just as you said, getting more educated but still allowing their children to play?
I think it's too early to tell, to be honest with you. The President's recent youth summit on concussions will heighten awareness and cause us to look at the medical community as a partner, and that's something that we should be doing and we will do more of. But I don't know if at this point you could say that there's more increased concern with regards to concussions.
Well, there certainly is with respect to playing football and other sports, and the detrimental effect that concussions have had long-term in the lives of many players. So, Doctor, talk to us about some of the symptoms that we need to look out for if we have sustained some sort of an injury.
It's interesting that you mentioned the fact that, is there increased awareness among parents? And I've noticed just anecdotally over the last decade, there's a heightened increase, both as a parent and as a physician, with children coming to emergency departments from sports, and any sport, it's not just football. So in the DC area, we're seeing soccer, basketball, children falling in the playground. It doesn't necessarily have to be football. And we're seeing girls now with cheerleading having symptoms. And really the common symptoms that we look for, we've developed a wonderful screening tool that the Centers for Disease Control funded us to create. And it goes through a set of symptoms, which include headache, nausea, amnesia for the event. Kids can, down the line, down the road, get insomnia, dizziness, depression, anxiety, irritability, problems with school performance.
But how long does this last? I mean, I think I know a couple of people who had a concussion, but they didn't know. They were walking around and they were fine. And then what wham bam all of a sudden happens to let you know, time out, you may have a serious problem?
Well, you have an acute injury and you need to sit out and get screened, and sometimes you don't see the initial effects right away. And what we recommend is to get reevaluated, and also we have a wonderful checklist for children to go home with after an injury to watch for these signs. So it can progress actually over the course of days, sometimes even months. So it's not necessarily at the acute time of injury that you see all the symptoms.
Yeah, and even going to the doctor, you won't be able to see all of the symptoms. Like, I had an accident recently, someone banged into me and I was taken to the emergency room, and right then and there a doctor may not be able to see if I'm concussed.
Unfortunately, as doctors, we weren't trained on concussion. It wasn't part of our medical school education. So we have created a program, it's called HITS for Kids in the nation's capital, Health IT Solutions for Kids, to bring the best tools that the CDC has supported us at Children's National and other centers around the country to create a concussion checklist, because emergency departments right now are not screening, outside of Washington, D.C. and Children's National, are not screening children for concussion. All they're doing is getting a CAT scan, which the kids don't need, and it's a lot of radiation. And it doesn't diagnose their concussion, and it doesn't manage them.
The kids that you deal with, are they being educated on concussions? Because it can't just be the parents that are getting educated. The kids need to be very aware of this so that they can tell us, you know what, I'm feeling a little depressed today, I don't know why, whatever the symptoms are, we need them to be educated too.
Sure. Well, the first instance where we actually partnered with Children's Hospital came back in the fall of 2013, where they came and spoke with our board about many of the things that the doctor is talking about. And then we held an awareness seminar, some of the things that you could look for, which was held at a local DC public school. It wasn't widely attended. I think it was the first of several that we need to do more of, but at least it started talking about what sort of warning signs should you be looking for. And again, if the symptoms come up like she's talked about, what's the first step? And for all of our coaches, if we notice any sort of difference in the child's behavior, whether they are exhibiting those signs or not, take them out.
Well, especially because you know what happened at a specific game. So a parent may not have been able to attend. Let's say dad or mom couldn't attend. You know, oh, so-and-so took a hit, or I saw the way the ball hit, whatever. So you may be able to add some sort of context to that child's situation that maybe a parent wouldn't be able to.
Sure, and I think that's part of working with our parents, working with our coaches, working with our volunteers, because we have a huge core of volunteers that support our program, to educate them again as to much of what's being researched right now and some of those steps that have been taken by the CDC and other institutions. And I'll just say we'd love to be a more active partner with you. So.
Look what DC Breakdown does. We bring people together. That's what I'm talking about.
We'd love to do that.
Great.
Yay! Kids in medical school now, are they being taught about concussions?
So I've developed a curriculum to teach students, medical students, about concussion, and doctors. And one of the key things is that you can't expect everybody to know everything immediately. And with knowledge translation in medicine, when we have good evidence, it can take up to 13 years for it to get to doctors, even published in the best journals. So what we're doing with our health IT solutions for kids, the HITS for Kids program, is putting the gold standard evidence-based tools for concussion diagnosis and management into the electronic health record, so it's at the patient's bedside immediately. And a patient in rural Maryland or Anacostia in the city can get the same wonderful concussion care immediately that an NFL player can get.
Well, obviously, this is very important to the President of the United States, as it should be. And the NFL is sort of leading the way and waving the red flag of, hey, you know, it's great to play these sports, but there are some underlying after effects that we need to take into consideration. Dr. Shireen Atabaki, thank you so much for joining us. And Doug Homer, thank you so much for talking to us about our children and concussions.